recently I did a video on the top 10 insanely long Yu-Gi-Oh card names. In it, I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards that practically have essays for their card titles. One example from that video would be something like Super Anti-Kaiju War Machine Mecha Dogaran, which if you add up all the characters, the spaces and the punctuation marks and like the little hyphens and stuff, you get a 42 character long named card, which is it's utterly insane. However, I thought for this top 10, how about we go in the opposite direction and try to find the smallest and most to the point Yu-Gi-Oh card names. So then I guess just like the titles of the cards we're going to be talking about in this video, how about we get straight to the point with our top 10 shortest Yu-Gi-Oh card names. To kick off this list, I'm getting all my cheating out the way with now because I have a tendency to try and like sliver some extra ones into each category, and I thought how about number 10 spot I put 26 nominees in. But wait, before you start freaking out, I have specifically chosen 26 Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have the shortest names of each of their letter categories. Basically, the reason that I've chosen 26 is there's a lot of cards that have 5 letters in their card names, and I didn't want to just pick one, and I thought because I tore through thousands upon thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all that time I invested in it, jotting all these names down so I could pick between them all, I thought why not just pick 26? One for every letter of the alphabet, and a few of them I discovered there isn't actually a short named letter. Like you're gonna see a couple letters in this that aren't actually 5 letters, they're a bit more. But yeah, without further ado, here are my 26 number 10s. Abaki, Barox, Cuban, Dogu, Exchange, Flelf, Greed, Hyena, Inferno, Jinzo, Keldo, Legul, Minar, Nettles, Oops! Exclamation mark, Parry, Question, X, Shift, Trent, Ulevo, Venom Boa, Wolf, Xyz Soul, Ubel, Zone. I'm sure you noticed, but the shortest one I could find was Venom Boa. I mean, if you guys can find anything shorter than that, let me know in the comment section below, but those are the 26 shortest ones that I could find that are not better than the ones that are coming on this list. So number 10. At number 9, with only 4 letters and a very iconic field spell in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, we have Yami. Which of course, if you know your Japanese, Yami translates to darkness. Its effect in the game is all fiend and spellcaster monsters on the field gain 200 attack and defense. Also, all fairy monsters on the field lose 200 attack and defense. Now, just before we continue on with this list, some of you might be asking, how am I choosing between other 4-lettered cards to know where they come on this list? Because they're all 4 letters, so what are you basing this on? Well, I'm going to be implementing the Scrabble scoring system into my list. Yes, so it turns out in Scrabble, each letter has a numerical value based on kind of how hard they are to put into words or how rare they are in words. So I thought, yeah, that seems like a good idea to do for this video, because if you have a small word, but it's worth loads of points in Scrabble, that makes it a more powerful, condensed word. It makes sense in my mind. I know it makes sense in yours as well, but it makes sense to me. I'm going to be using that logic here. So the more complex and dense the word is, the higher up on the list it goes. For example, Yami scores 9 what I'm going to call Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble points in this one, meaning it beats out inferior cards like Anti and Toll, which both have 4 Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble points, Gust, which has 5, and Fine, which respectively had 7 Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble points, but it's just not as good. So now that you guys know the criteria needed to get high up on the list, let's look at the number 8 spot. At number 8 is Next. No, but seriously, there's actually a card called Next. Yeah. With only 4 characters and a Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble score of 11, Next is a card for the Neospatians and Elemental Heroes. Next is a normal trap card that has only just been released in the TCG as of 2019's Savage Strike Booster Pack. Its effect is special summon any number of monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard in defense position that are all Neospatian monsters or Elemental Hero Neos, but negate their effects. And as long as you control any of those special summon monsters face up, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. You can only activate 1 Next per turn. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. Funny enough, Next is actually called Neospatian Extension in the Japanese, which is quite interesting. However, to talk about that, we'll have to wait a little bit later on in the list before I start talking about it, because that would be a spoiler. But regardless, I guess thank you to the translation team for cutting down Neospace extension all the way down to next, because that makes it eligible to my criteria, so thank you guys. And I have to say that I'm glad this card's on the list, because any card that further supports the Neospatians, that can make them just that little bit better, I do appreciate it, because I like the Neospatians. I just wish they were just a smidge better and could be played more. I will have to admit though, it is a bit of a confusing name, because you can imagine being in the middle of the duel. It's your turn. Alright then, next. I play next. What? At number 7 is the effect monster, Mojo. With only 4 characters and a Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score of 13, I would like to call this little guy adorable. However, I know what it grows up into. Yeah, King of the Beasts is definitely nightmare fuel. However, Little Mojo's effect is when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 4 beast type monster from your graveyard to your hand. But seriously though, Mojo is really small and tiny in its card artwork, and the fact that its name reflects its smallness by being just a small to the point, harmless sounding name of Mojo, it doesn't sound too bad. So yeah, I think this reflects it perfectly and it's very deserving of this spot. We're going to a new tier now. We're going away from the 4-letter Yu-Gi-Oh card names to just the 3-letter Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And so, in number 6, I've gone with another iconic Yu-Gi-Oh field spell, Yumi. With only 3 characters, sadly the Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble score is going to take a little bit of a hit, as Yumi scores a mere 5 Yu-Gi-Oh Scrabble points. But for a 3-letter word, that by no means it's bad. However, in comparison to some of the cards we're going to talk about later on this list, it doesn't actually stack up. It's short and sweet and to the point. But what does Yumi actually mean? Well, in the Japanese, it means sea, which if we use sea as our word instead, I guess the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score goes down even more to just 3. Honestly, it's a perfect card for any freaky fish guys or gals out there. You can definitely use it in your decks if you fancy. And just saying, Yumi, I like it. And number 5 is actually my favourite card on this list, and I'm sad to say that it only comes at number 5, and that card is the strangely named Bat. That's right, it's just the Bat. Sadly, this card hasn't actually been released in the TCG to my knowledge, and I kind of feel bad about putting it on the list, but I can't pass up a card just called Bat on this list. The name really gives me a weird vibe. Like, it doesn't seem like it fits in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game because of its name, just Bat. It reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. In that world, all the animals are like 2 animals spliced together, but then they meet this one animal that's just a bear, and they're all freaked out. They're like, is it a bear so-and-so? They're like, no, it's just a bear. And they're all like, it's weird. Like this thing, it's not a wind-up bat, it's not a meta bat, it's not even a dark bat, it's just Bat. And unfortunately, the artwork kind of ruins this because it actually is a mechanical bat. It's not just a normal bat. And it's ruined a little bit further by the fact that in Germany, they called it mechanical bat, which makes sense. I will admit, you should probably call it by what it looks like, but I prefer it as just bat. It's fitting. And its flavor text is quite to the point as its actual name as well. A mechanical bat that drops blasts from its wings. The card only has 3 letters and a Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score of 5, which is the same as Yumi, but I like this one more, so I thought I'd put it a spot higher. So that's my number 5 spot. In 4th place, and just missing out on the top 3, is Eva. With only 3 characters and a Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score of 6, this sad little alien has the effect, if it is sent to the graveyard, you can banish up to 2 other light fairy monsters from your field and or graveyard, add the same number of level 2 or lower light fairy monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, except Eva. You can only use the effect of Eva once per turn. This monster looks small in stature on its artwork, it has low attack points, it has low defense points, it's only a level 1 monster, and as such, its name reflects all of this by having it just as Eva. Which reminds me of Wally. Eva. Don't put that in. Basically, another 3-letter Yu-Gi-Oh card, number 3. It's top 3 time now, so starting with the bronze, we have the normal spell card, Nex. It only has 3 letters, but it does have a massive Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score of 10, with its effect being send 1 face-up Neospatial monster you control to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 monster with the same name from your extra deck. I didn't want to mention this earlier in the video because it would have been spoilers, but do you remember when we was talking about Next? Do you realise that this card is the upgraded version of that card? Not just in terms of its effect. If we take the name as well of Nex, N-E-X, and we throw a T on the end, we get next, which is the upgraded form, which is next. How cool is that? However, even better, the same applies for the Japanese name as well, because in the Japanese, next is known as Neospatian Extent. And then if we go to the upgraded form, we add the shun at the end and we get Neospatian Extent Shun. It's so clever. They did really well, the translation teams there, with the Japanese and the English. I like it. I think it's really fitting. I approve of this card, and it's an old school Neospatian support card, so just Nex with, it's got an X and an N in. It's pretty impressive, so Nex, number 3. In second place, with the silver and a very old card in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, is Zoa. Zoa made its OCG debut in 1999 in Yu-Gi-Oh! True Duel Monsters Sealed Memories promotional cards. Zoa only has 3 letters in its Yu-Gi-Oh! Card name, but it has a massive Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score of 12. It's definitely that Z getting it all the way up there. Get that Z in a word? You're winning. Zoa is a normal monster whose flavor text reads, a monster whose full potential can be achieved when outfitted with Metalmorph. This is one of the rare cases where a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card's flavor text actually makes a reference to another real-world card, in this case, Metalmorph, which is kind of ironic because Zoa can turn into Metal Zoa through the criteria met on this card and the actual Metal Zoa. So you just equip this with Metalmorph and you get yourself Metal Zoa. So I think because of all this, it's very deserving of the number 2 spot. Konami was thinking early here, get some nice short and sweet cards out early on. It's perfect. And finally at number 1, the ultimate card in terms of simplisticness, of efficiency, and to the pointhood, to the pointness, I guess. That card is 7. No, not my number 7 choice, the actual number 7. Yes, Konami made a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card that is actually the number 7, not the word 7, the actual number 7, which makes it the only card in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game to only have 1 character in its card name. Its effect is when there are 3 face-up 7 cards on your side of the field, draw 3 cards from your deck. Then destroy all 7 cards. When this card is sent directly from the field to the graveyard, increase your life points by 700 points. If you want to talk about how efficient this Yu-Gi-Oh! Card is, in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble game, this card would actually score 0, since you're not actually allowed to have any numbers, because they're not in words, I guess. But I find that more efficient. The fact that this card scores 0 points in Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble, there's something really good about that. Also, I think there's something really ironic about making the number 1 choice for this video the number 7. It's just so confusing and so perfect. I love it. Also, it means I can make this terrible joke. Do you know why the number 6 was afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Yeah. If you want to get a bit more technical with this card as well, the fact that you need 3 of these on the field to activate its effect, even if we had all 3, so 7, 7, 7, then it still wouldn't have any Yu-Gi-Oh! Scrabble score. It'd still be 0 because they're all, 0. But then it would be 3 characters, so it probably could go down to the 3 character thing. And isn't there another card called 7 Completed? There's so many 7 cards. And there's Jackpot 7 as well. Yu-Gi-Oh! Really likes the number 7. Isn't 7 a lucky number as well in Japan? There was an advert for a car thing where they had just a number on the back. I can't remember what. Let me check. It is! It is actually a thing. Number 7 is lucky in Japan. It symbolizes togetherness. So it's a good number to get. So there you go. Proof this card should be number 1. And with that, guys, that's another top 10 video done. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments section below. I hope you didn't take it too seriously. It was just a little bit of fun. I made that top 10 insanely long video. Thought I'd do the opposite, and I had fun with it. There was a few cards that I didn't know, and just trawling through the thousands of cards to try and find the shortest one. Before I end this video, guys, I want to say a special thank you to everybody that is supporting the channel over here. Thank you first and foremost to my platinum supporters, Yudu97, J24092, Chowderman36, as well to my gold backers Dylan Cunan, TheWolf18, Jack Sisson, Chungming Zen, and David Shanahan. Thank you to everybody else supporting me on Patreon as well. A big thank you to my TGS YouTube members, Shinjo CB and Reyes Sanchez. You guys help keep the channel going, so I want to say a big thank you to all of you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.